A message to the humankind. Contacts with a soul group on the 18th, 26th, and 31st of December 2021 and the 15th and 30th of January 2022. Message, soul group, questions and notes, Kari Tuuri, channeling, translation and voice, Pauliina Sabel. This message was communicated by a high-frequency group of love and light that wished to stay anonymous. We named the group as the Soul Group. This group told us they were part of a larger entity. With the message, the Soul Group wishes to help humanity during these difficult times and wants to bring hope for the future. The message was channeled in Finnish, so this is a translation from the original. Although we are convinced that this message is genuine and that it originates from a loving source, it may not resonate with everyone. Give the message a chance, listen to it with your heart, and decide for yourself if it is right for you. A great love and light wishes to communicate to the humanity about an increase of love and light amongst you. This is a soul group that wants to bring you a message. We wish to inform you about an event that will completely alter the direction of humanity. It will split your planet as you know it in two, not physically, but on a spiritual level. You might be aware of an event that is called Ascension. The time for it has come to this planet, and it is inevitable. It might come as a surprise for some, but not for all of you. Unfortunately, only a small proportion of humans on Earth comprehends the significance and the unavoidability of Ascension, but we wish to alleviate any fear that might exist around the event. At this very moment, your planet is in need of light and hope. We have been following the development and have received messages about what is happening on Earth. Naturally, what happens in your density is not really important other than regarding an individual's own development, although it might seem otherwise. The moment of ascension is unique to each person, and everyone will experience it individually, although the event is simultaneous for all. Is the time for the ascension near? Time, despite its linearity, is near. According to your comprehension of time, it might happen very soon. Your planet cannot hold off ascension much longer because of the unavoidability of cycles. There is enough light and energy on your planet to help its transition to the next density. What will follow is that those humans who have concluded this third density are able to rise to the next one with your planet, meaning that they will complete the ascension. Your planet will need a lot of light in order for it to shift, and at the moment there is light coming from within the planet, and in addition, light is being sent from outside the Earth. There are numerous transformers and amplifiers nearby the planet, reflecting light from afar, so that the planet can make its transition. A sufficient number of humans are in a high enough state of consciousness and in the right frequency for the ascension to take place. It cannot be stopped. Imagine a bow that is extremely tense. It cannot be tightened anymore, as it could break. At some point, one must release it so that the arrow can fly. Your planet is now metaphorically an arrow sitting on a tense bow, waiting for it to be released. You are very close to the moment when this event takes place. It cannot take long now. However, it is extremely difficult to give you a more precise timing. We are grateful for being able to come to you during this time when humankind is on the verge of a great transformation. Fear is an emotion with the lowest frequency that people on this planet experience. That frequency is not helpful in the inevitable transformation. The event is near. The frequency of love is the finest and highest, and that frequency will help the planet with its shift. Light and love are in fact the same thing. The brightest light has the frequency of love. Even the smallest amount of love repels the frequency of fear, so it is of utmost importance that as many of you as possible feels in the heart the frequency of love and light. Earth needs as many of you as possible to focus on the frequency of light, as that will create conditions which will enable your planet to transform its density to a higher vibration. This is what you call ascension to the fourth density or to the fifth dimension. In fact, everyone exists simultaneously in all densities, but one embodies oneself only in one frequency at a time. As an example, we could say that a person is either awake or he dreams. These two cannot happen at the same time, although one's mind can be awake and asleep simultaneously, as happens during daydreaming. Nevertheless, a person exists only in one density at a time. The change for the planet is immense. It takes great amount of power, which the planet gets from light. The source of all life comes from light. You may ask if there can be life in the depths of the ocean, despite the darkness there. Our answer is yes, there can be, as that light comes from within, not from the outside. The source of light is the same whether one can see the light or not. One needs to see with their inner eyes. Is a blind man less in light than the one who can see? The answer is no. Everyone can see with their heart, and that is the right eye to use, as well as the small eye inside your head. That is the eye with which you can see to different densities, to the universal connection. We can only invite you, the inhabitants of this planet, to work together assisting Earth in this shift, because at the same time your own frequency will tune in to the frequency the planet must be in for it to move forward. When your heart has tuned into the same frequency, it is easy for you to follow along. If you are in a different frequency, it will be more difficult to perform the process. It is not impossible to follow along if one's frequency is not exactly the same, but it will be easier if a unified and coherent frequency coverage is achieved. Thank you. Is it possible for you to give us a more specific time frame for this transformation? Will it be simultaneous for everyone, or will it be an individual shift, one soul at a time? Your planet is making a huge transformation, as we have already explained. The planet cannot transform one bit at a time. The shift is unified. Those inhabitants of the Earth that are on the transformation frequency will ascend with the planet. Those not ready for the shift will not ascend with planet Earth. They will continue their true path elsewhere. Other than that, the shift will be simultaneous for everyone. It cannot be so that the planet changes its frequency and the inhabitants do not. So those who shift into a higher frequency will do it together with Earth. Thank you. Will it be possible, as we have been told, to rise to the next, fourth density with these bodies? This is a change to previous understanding. We know that planets exist where shift has happened that way. It has not been possible on this planet before because the frequencies have not been high enough, and there have not been enough inhabitants to ascend that way. This time, light is also coming from outside your planet. Earth and its inhabitants are being helped so that it will be possible. Light coming from outside is going to help bodies to shift so that they will not be destroyed due to the amount and nature of the light. Bodies will change so that they can flourish in the next density. If that would have been experimented upon earlier, it would not have been possible. Since the consciousness of your planet and its inhabitants has expanded to the point where it is now, it can be tried out. Thank you. Does the outer appearance of the body change in addition to the inner changes? Will we be able to recognize a person from their appearance as they are now in the third density, as the same person in the fourth? The higher part of one's soul will affect the appearance. That part of you that you call your higher self, which resides in a higher density, can choose a body shape and appearance they feel most comfortable in during any incarnation on any planet. As you know, you have lived many incarnations, and you have not always looked the same on the outside. When you now shift to another density, you can choose the look you wish to have according to what feels most comfortable for your soul. Outwardly, the body looks very similar to what you have in this density, but it is less dense than here. You can have a bigger impact on your appearance in the fourth density than in the third. We thank you. Our next question is our body going to need any physical material as food to survive, or is light enough to sustain our soul and bodily functions? If we talk about frequencies where you reside now, your body needs physical nutrition. When you shift to the next frequency, your body will still be dense, but not as dense as it is now. When you transition even higher, your body will become even less dense, meaning that a larger portion of your body will consist of light. Thus, your body will use light as its source of nourishment. Love will effectively nourish the body and the soul, so already in the next density, love is a significant source of nourishment. However, it will not yet suffice as the only source, because your bodies are not in a density where love or light alone will be sufficient to sustain you. Thank you. There are people who are good at heart and are well-meaning, but who do not have a high level of consciousness. Will they be able to take part in the ascension? I mean, is it the purity of the heart or the level of consciousness that will be the deciding factor regarding who can make the shift to the fourth density? Love is the most important factor, but the green ray alone is not enough. If one has reached the wholeness of the violet ray by finishing the third density with all its lessons, one is ready to move on to the next density. However, it is possible that at the very moment when your planet is shifting into the next density, you will be assisted in opening up your consciousness. Otherwise, that change would not take place. So at that moment, if the consciousness opens up and all third dimension lessons have been learned, it is possible to join in the ascension with planet Earth. Even though the moment of ascension is only as short as a wink of an eye, in that moment, time does not really exist. What follows is that during that timeless wink of an eye, when the consciousness opens up, a person can, shall we say, mature and grow so much that they can join in the ascension and follow along to the next density. Thank you. We would like to ask a personal question. The instrument you use for channeling and I who asks these questions, do we have a predetermined mission in the next density? It is not for us to give you information on anything that is not here yet. The time of ascension is very near, and the success of the event will depend on many things. Just as a card reader reading about someone's future from cards cannot promise that the future will happen exactly as the cards say at that moment, we cannot from here predict what will happen in any individual's so-called future. You all have a potential for everything, as you are a part and a reflection of the Source and of the infinite Creator. Everyone has the possibility of perfection and love. According to your free will, you can decide what you want to do. Therefore, we can only say that each and every one of you is important, and that you all have your own mission and part to play in every density. You are all parts of a bigger whole, and you are a part of light and love. We are not able to specify any individual's importance or task. What happens now is what is most important for you. Thank you. We will not ask any personal questions. You said that Ascension is near. Will there be any big changes on the Earth for those who continue living in third density, or will they notice the Ascension at all? We can describe that process as being similar to that of falling asleep and waking up. Those who do not move forward and who are not ripe to take part in the Ascension will go to a so-called intermediate space. There they can decide where their next incarnation will take place. For them, it will be painless and normal, as if they were waking up from a dream. Thank you. Your planet is going through a huge transformation that affects its physical essence. As this shift to the next density will be very fast, it is unlikely that anyone will notice it. When it happens, this density will cease to exist. At the same time, everything belonging to this third density will cease to exist. The shift will happen so fast that you will not be able to comprehend it. As an example, we ask you, are you able to notice the moment you fall asleep? The answer is no, you're not. It just happens, and in the same way when one wakes up from sleep, it is a normal occurrence. We wanted to tell you that as your planet moves on to the next density, this event will have a huge impact on the lives of the planet's inhabitants. Most of the people on Earth will not descend with the planet to the new light, as they will continue in another density. This is not news for you, but a big portion of humans do not understand what is going on with your planet. The amount of light is so immense that it is almost overpowering, although not in a negative sense. In any case, it is going to be a never-before-seen happening on this planet. The instrument has already asked us about this event, and we can only say that it is unstoppable and inevitable. The amount of light and love will grow to a great extent. We would like to ask you to prepare for this occasion. Even though Ascension is a planetary shift, it will affect all living things, everything that is energy. You can prepare by purifying your mind and by accepting the light and love that is being sent. Stay on the wavelength of love and light as much as possible before the Ascension. It is important to stay in the frequency of love, as it will make the shift easier for you. The amount of light is increasing as we speak. You will notice as the time of Ascension gets closer that there is more light in your heart. You might not notice the light on the outside at first, but you will notice it within you. This is only a reminder of that which you already know, but it is an important part of preparing yourself for the new frequency. We would like to remind you that you are not alone in this situation, and you are not in it for the first time. Your soul memory will open up more and more as the time of the shift draws closer. We want you to understand that you are looked after and assisted also from outside of your planet. Does the 4D Earth already exist? Is this future 4D Earth bigger in size as our current one? Planet Earth does indeed exist in all dimensions already now. It is called a quantum essence. It means that an item manifests itself in all dimensions simultaneously. The experiencing of the manifestation depends on the dimension in which the observer exists. As you know, the higher the frequency an item holds, the less so-called physical essence it has. So planet Earth does also have a highest self that no longer is physical. It is the same with humans. You exist on all levels. Your potential is out there, so if you were able to see time as we understand it here, as a spiral, you would see yourselves as many different versions that all form one whole. A version of you exists in every dimension. The intention is to go through all dimensions and to collect, as it were, each version, unite them all, and in the end there will be only one that is everything. Planets make no exception to this. There exists only one, but perception always depends on the location of the observer. The so-called 4D Earth exists, of course, and as the planet Earth keeps ascending to ever higher densities, it collects with it previous versions of itself, and in the end there will be only one. Growth is always also expansion. Thank you. Will our Sun, our own star, and the other planets in our solar system ascend to the fourth density simultaneously with our planet? All planets are individuals that have their position in the same mechanism. They can exist in multiple frequencies at the same time, as can Earth, together and individually. We could say that this machinery climbs upwards to a higher frequency. The way one sees all this depends, as we have already mentioned earlier, on the location of the observer. If you were to look at planet Venus, would you see life there? No, you would not. But is there life on that planet? Surely there is. In what density does Venus exist? That depends on the observer's location. Planets live their own lives, but they are also part of this machinery. Sun is a star that has its individual lifespan. Your Sun has a version of itself in every density. When does your Sun ascend, and to which density? It has its own trajectory. When your planet rises to the fourth density, you will see a Sun that is not the same one you see now, but a Sun belonging to that density. Where the Sun exists in reality depends on the point of observation. Thank you. When the Earth rises to the next density, it would be hard to think that it would skip one density and go directly to the fifth, so we assume it will rise to the fourth. As there is also a negative timeline, is it possible to have interference from a negative timeline towards planets that are developing on a positive 4D and 5D timeline? There is interference to a certain limit. Those belonging to the negative timeline cannot rise with the Earth. They have their own timeline, so they will not come to the positive one. If you wonder where the third density will disappear to during Ascension, those belonging to 3D timeline are not ready to shift. They will continue someplace else. Those eligible for Ascension from the negative timeline cannot continue on a positive planet, such as planet Earth. Earth will transform into a positive planet and will not continue on a positive-negative polarity timeline. The negatives will go to a planet where they can successfully continue the negative 4D path they have chosen. Does interference happen to a positive planet? Everything is possible. Everything is both positive and negative up to a certain point, especially from the 3D viewpoint. If we take the perspective of, say, the seventh density, no division to negative and positive exists. It is a dance of light and shadow, intertwining of shadow and light, as both are needed to understand that something else than mere light exists. When one has reached a certain level of development, one will understand that both light and shadow are necessary to progress, so the word interference is perhaps unnecessary. We would rather talk about cooperation. Thank you. Will the shift from 3D to 4D really happen in one blink of an eye, or can it take longer? Longer is a word we would not use here. You may remember that the concept of linear time can only exist in 3D, in the matrix, where it has been necessary to apply linear time so that people could comprehend different times in their lives. It would be quite difficult to live in 3D without the concept of linear time. When time is approached from a higher perspective, for example from 4D, that which you call longer in 3D can be just a blink of an eye from the viewpoint of 4D or 5D. Time as such does not even exist, so what does an instant mean? Also, a period of time in 3D can seem long because linear time cannot turn into a spiral, which is something time must normally be allowed to do. So, your perception of time is artificial. But if we return to the question about ascending to 4D and whether that event is instantaneous, we can say that it is. The shift cannot be slow because the 3D structure would not withstand it. We will again make a comparison to sleeping. When you are trying to fall asleep, it may sometimes feel like having to wait for a long time for it to happen. However, the actual moment when you do fall asleep is very short. It is similar with Ascension. You will wait for a long time for it to arrive, but the shift will be quick. Thank you. Naturally, we hope that all will go well. We also thank you and would like to point out that Ascension is coming soon. You have nothing to fear regarding the shift. This 3D matrix is coming to its end. Trust the light and invite it close to you. You are already now surrounded by a number of invisible helpers who are assisting you in moving forward. Time cannot continue as a linear concept because your planet is changing over to time as a spiral. Even if it may feel that Ascension is far away, that moment, from our viewpoint, is already here. We would like to remind you that we are looking at your situation from a quantum point of time and space where everything happens simultaneously. Thus, your planet Earth exists in 3D and 4D, as well as in other densities and dimensions. As we told you earlier, all different versions of Earth exist already. It is impossible for your planet not to move forward and for the Ascension not to happen, because that has already happened in quantum reality. The more light you hold in your heart, the easier it will be for you during the transition. We thank you for this transmission. We thank you for the information you have given us. There are huge energetic changes taking place on your planet at the moment. If you were able to see what we see, you would notice one kind of energy rotating in one direction and another kind of energy rotating in another direction. Those energies seem opposing, but it is a necessary process. When the energies are rotating, they are creating a thrust, which the planet can use for ascension. Mere light is not enough. The shift will need power originating from the inside of planet Earth. Just as the change of a human starts from within, a planet must draw energy from its own power that resides inside of it. When these two energetic forces reach an adequate rotational speed, the transition can happen and the planet can free itself from the third dimension and move on to the next phase of its development. You are very close now. More and more light is radiating to your planet from different sources. In fact, there is light you cannot see surrounding Earth. It comes from a higher density, and it cannot be perceived in 3D. If you were to look from a higher viewpoint, you could see your beautiful planet bathing in this light. Your mission now is to feel that light and bathe in it together with planet Earth. When you feel those two opposing energies on your planet, choose carefully which energy you wish to attach yourself to. When the time comes, you will shift with the energy you have chosen to associate with. You have the freedom of choice. Listen to your heart, and you will be able to choose the best path forward for you. There is no right or wrong, we wish to remind you. As in the end, all paths will lead to oneness. There is only one light, one love, one infinite creator, and you are all parts of that oneness. Go in light and in love. We will inform you when it is possible to communicate with you again. We thank you in the name of love and light.